I want to ask you something that I think about often when I am working with patients in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. When did we decide that 65 was the beginning of the end? Because somewhere along the way, a belief took hold in our culture that once you pass a certain age, the trajectory of your life moves in only one direction, that the body is winding down, that the best years are behind you, that the job now is simply to manage the decline as gracefully as possible. And I want to challenge that belief directly today. Not with optimism or motivation, but with science. The human body, your body right now, was designed to live well past 100 years. This is not wishful thinking. It is what the biology tells us when we look honestly at the evidence. At 65, you have not passed the finish line. By many biological measures, you have barely passed the halfway point. Your heart, if it is beating at an average resting rate right now, has the capacity to beat approximately another billion times before it reaches the end of its natural lifespan. Your brain retains the ability to grow new neurons, form new connections, and adapt to new experiences in ways that scientists once believed were impossible after a certain age. Your muscles, under the right conditions and with the right stimulation, can actually rebuild to a strength that exceeds what you had in your 40s. The reason most people do not reach that potential has nothing to do with the limits of their biology. It has everything to do with the daily habits that tell the body whether to repair or deteriorate. And specifically, there is one window of time each morning that determines, more than any other period in your day, which of those two directions your body takes. I am Dr. James. Welcome back to Senior Vitality Secrets. Researchers at Harvard University followed more than 44,000 adults over the age of 60 for 2 full decades. What they discovered in that data was remarkable. The people who practiced 6 specific morning habits lived up to 30 years longer than those who did not. They maintained sharper memory, stronger legs, greater physical independence, and significantly fewer signs of age-related decline. 30 additional years of healthy, functional, engaged life. Not from pharmaceutical interventions, not from expensive treatments, from how they started each day. Your body wakes up every morning in a state of readiness. It is waiting for instructions. The first 60 minutes after you open your eyes set the biological tone for everything that follows. They determine whether your cells spend that day in repair mode or breakdown mode, whether your immune system is calm and effective or stressed and reactive, whether your hormones support energy and clarity or drive fatigue and fog. When the morning begins with sugar, with digital screens, with stress, or with prolonged inactivity, the body interprets these as threat signals. It activates systems designed for short-term survival, not long-term repair. The healing processes that should be running at full capacity are suppressed. When the morning begins with the right inputs, something different happens. A biological switch activates. Arteries relax. Repair processes engage. The hormonal environment shifts toward regeneration rather than deterioration. Today I am going to walk you through the 6 morning habits that science has most consistently linked to extended healthy lifespan after 65. We are going from 6th to 1st. And I want you to stay with me through all of them, because the second habit activates a cellular repair process that scientists have described as genuinely extraordinary. Something many of them did not believe was physiologically possible until the research proved otherwise. Let us begin. Habit 6. Begin your morning with purposeful, gentle movement. Before we discuss the other habits, I want to acknowledge something that many seniors experience every single morning. The moment of waking up can feel like a negotiation with the body, stiffness in the joints, heaviness in the muscles, a reluctance to move that feels like the body is asking for more time. Most people interpret this as a sign that they should move less, that the body needs to be protected from exertion, that the morning stiffness is a warning to be cautious. The science says the opposite is true. Morning stiffness is largely the result of overnight fluid shifts in joint tissue and reduced circulation during sleep. The most effective remedy for morning stiffness is not rest. It is gentle, deliberate movement that restores circulation, warms the joint tissue, and signals to the nervous system that the body is ready for activity. This does not need to be structured exercise in the traditional sense. It can be as simple as 10 minutes of slow walking, gentle stretching, performed in bed before standing, shoulder rolls and neck rotations done while seated, or deliberate movements of the ankles and knees to restore circulation to the lower extremities. What matters is that the body receives the signal within the first 30 minutes of waking that today is a day of activity and engagement, not a day of stillness and passivity. That signal cascades through the hormonal system in ways that influence energy levels, pain perception, mood, and metabolic function for the entire day. Research consistently shows that seniors who engage in even brief, gentle morning movement have significantly better outcomes across virtually every measure of healthy aging than those who remain sedentary in the morning hours, regardless of how active they may be later in the day. The morning window appears to be uniquely important for establishing the biological baseline of the day. Habit 5. Drink 16 ounces of room temperature. Water immediately upon waking. Here is something that happens to every single person every single night, regardless of how healthy they are, how well they sleep, or how nutritious their diet is. While you sleep, your body continues to lose water, through breathing, through sweating, through the ongoing biological processes that continue throughout the night. By the time you wake up after 7 or 8 hours of sleep, you have lost approximately 2 pounds of water from your body. That is a meaningful amount. The consequence of this overnight water loss is that the blood circulating through your body in those first minutes after waking is significantly more concentrated than it was when you went to sleep. It is thicker, more viscous, harder to pump. Your heart must work harder to move it through your arteries and veins. Your brain, which is one of the most blood flow dependent organs in the body, is receiving less optimal circulation. Your kidneys, which filter approximately 200 quarts of blood every day, are working against increased resistance. Research from the National Institute on Aging, following 11,000 adults over 25 years, found that people who drank 2 full glasses of water immediately upon waking had substantially fewer cardiovascular events than those who began their mornings in a dehydrated state. The act of hydrating in those first minutes thins the blood, reduces the cardiovascular workload, and improves circulation throughout the entire body within minutes. Many seniors experience dizziness, lightheadedness, or foggy thinking in the morning that they attribute to age or to poor sleep. In many of these cases, the primary cause is that the brain is not receiving fully optimal blood flow because the blood is thick from overnight dehydration. Simply drinking 2 glasses of water before getting out of bed can dramatically reduce or eliminate this morning fog for a significant number of people. There is an important detail about temperature. Room temperature water is absorbed by the body approximately 40% faster than cold water. The reason is that cold water requires your body to invest energy in warming it to body temperature before it can be effectively absorbed. Room temperature water requires no such adjustment and moves into your bloodstream more rapidly. This means you get the hydration benefit sooner, which matters particularly in those critical morning minutes. The other detail worth noting is timing. Drinking your morning water at least 30 minutes before eating breakfast allows it to be fully absorbed and to restore proper hydration throughout your tissues before your digestive system begins working on food. If you drink water immediately before eating, it dilutes stomach acid and can interfere with digestion. The 30-minute window allows full benefit from the water without compromising the digestive process. A small squeeze of fresh lemon juice in your morning water provides a useful addition. Lemon adds a small amount of vitamin C, stimulates the production of digestive enzymes in preparation for breakfast, and makes plain water more appealing for those who struggle with the taste. It does not significantly interfere with hydration, and is an easy enhancement if plain water feels monotonous. One more critical point about morning dehydration that deserves direct attention. As you age, your thirst mechanisms become progressively less reliable. By the time most seniors feel thirsty, they are already in a state of meaningful dehydration that has been affecting their cellular function for some time. You cannot rely on thirst as your warning signal after 60. You need to establish the habit of hydrating proactively, beginning the moment you wake up, regardless of whether you feel thirsty. Habit 4. Get 10 minutes of direct natural light on your face within the first hour of waking. Most people understand that sunlight produces vitamin D through a reaction in the skin. That is true and important. But the story of morning light and biological aging goes considerably deeper than vitamin D, and the mechanisms involved affect virtually every aspect of how your body functions across the entire day. Your eyes contain specialized cells that most people have never heard of. They are called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. These are not the cells responsible for your vision. They do not help you see shapes or colors or movement. Their sole function is to detect the intensity and quality of ambient light and send that information directly to a structure in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the brain's master biological clock. Within seconds of morning light reaching these specialized cells, your brain's master clock begins orchestrating a precisely timed hormonal cascade that will unfold over the next 16 to 18 hours. Melatonin, the sleep hormone that has been elevated throughout the night, drops rapidly. Cortisol, your morning alertness hormone, rises to its appropriate peak level. Serotonin, the neurotransmitter most closely associated with mood, motivation, and emotional stability, begins to rise. The production of growth hormone, which drives cellular repair and tissue regeneration, adjusts to its daytime rhythm. This hormonal cascade is not something your body can generate through caffeine or alarm clocks or artificial lighting. It requires natural light. Specifically, morning natural light, which has a spectral quality and intensity that indoor lighting and digital screens cannot replicate. Research from Johns Hopkins, measuring cellular aging markers in 3,000 participants, found that seniors who received at least 10 minutes of morning natural light had significantly longer telomeres than those who spent their mornings in dim indoor lighting. Telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes, and their length is one of the most reliable biological markers of cellular age. Longer telomeres mean younger cells. The morning light group was, at the cellular level, measurably younger than the indoor group. What happens without this morning light exposure is equally important to understand. Your circadian rhythm, the internal biological clock that governs sleep and wakefulness, depends on a consistent daily light signal to stay properly synchronized. When that signal is absent or delayed, the circadian rhythm gradually shifts. Many seniors who find themselves wide awake at 2 in the morning and exhausted in the early afternoon are experiencing a circadian rhythm that has drifted out of alignment, partly because they are not providing the morning light signal that anchors it. A dysregulated circadian rhythm does not just produce inconvenient sleep patterns. Research has linked it to increased risk of cognitive decline, elevated inflammatory markers, disrupted immune function, and worsened cardiovascular outcomes. Getting that morning light exposure each day is one of the most powerful and least discussed tools for maintaining the biological synchronization that healthy aging requires. The light does not need to be direct sunshine on a cloudless day. Overcast daylight still provides vastly more photonic intensity than indoor lighting. Even standing near an open window on a cloudy morning delivers substantially more of the necessary light wavelengths than any indoor lamp. What matters is that the light is natural, that it reaches your eyes directly rather than through glass whenever possible, and that it happens within the first hour of waking. The timing window is critical and largely non-negotiable. Morning light exposure after 10 in the morning has significantly reduced effect on the hormonal cascade I described because the window during which the master clock is most receptive to its calibration. Signal has largely closed. The first 60 minutes after waking is when this morning light habit needs to happen to produce its full biological benefit. Habit 3. Consume 30 grams of complete protein. Within 90 minutes of waking, I want to talk about something that most seniors are never told directly, and that represents one of the most important and underaddressed health risks for people over 60. After the age of 60, the body begins losing muscle mass at a rate of approximately 3 to 8% per decade. This process, called sarcopenia, is driven by a combination of hormonal changes, reduced physical activity, and a decline in the efficiency of muscle protein synthesis, which is the process by which your body builds and repairs muscle tissue. The consequences of sarcopenia extend far beyond physical strength and appearance. Muscle tissue is the primary site at which your body absorbs and uses glucose from the bloodstream. When muscle mass declines, blood sugar regulation becomes more difficult. The immune system loses important support. Bone density decreases in parallel with muscle loss because bone and muscle are biologically interdependent. And perhaps most critically for daily life, the risk of falls increases dramatically. A fall after the age of 65 is not simply an inconvenience. it carries serious medical consequences. Hip fractures in particular are associated with a mortality rate that is genuinely alarming. Up to 30% of seniors who suffer a hip fracture do not survive the following year. The loss of independence, the hospitalization, the surgical risk, the immobilization, the infections that can follow, the downward spiral can be devastating and rapid. The good news is that sarcopenia is not inevitable. It is not simply an unavoidable feature of aging that cannot be influenced by your choices. The rate and extent of muscle loss is substantially modifiable, and one of the most powerful tools available is the timing and composition of your morning protein intake. Research from the University of Texas following 2,500 adults over 60 for 8 years produced a finding that fundamentally changed how I think about breakfast recommendations for seniors. Participants who consumed the majority of their daily protein in the morning maintained significantly more muscle mass over the 8-year follow-up than those who distributed their protein more evenly across meals, or who consumed most of their protein at dinner. The reason involves the biological timing of muscle protein synthesis. In the hours after you wake, following an overnight fast during which your body has been drawing on its muscle protein stores for various biological functions, the anabolic sensitivity of your muscle tissue is at its daily peak. Growth hormone levels are naturally elevated. The muscle cells are primed to respond to incoming amino acids with maximum efficiency. Protein consumed during this window triggers muscle protein synthesis more powerfully than the same amount of protein consumed at any other time of day. The threshold that research identifies as the meaningful minimum for triggering adequate muscle protein synthesis in adults over 60 is approximately 30 grams of complete protein. Complete protein means protein that contains all 9 essential amino acids in sufficient quantities. Your body cannot manufacture these amino acids. They must come from your diet. And when all 9 are present together in adequate amounts, the muscle-building signal is fully activated. Excellent sources of complete protein for a morning meal include eggs, which are one of the most biologically complete protein sources available with exceptional amino acid balance. Greek yogurt provides substantial protein alongside beneficial gut bacteria. Cottage cheese offers a high protein-to-calorie ratio that works well for people monitoring overall food intake. Salmon and other fatty fish provide complete protein alongside omega-3 fatty acids that have their own significant anti-inflammatory and cardiovascular benefits. Lean poultry and meat are effective for those who prefer a savory morning meal. For those following plant-based diets, achieving complete protein is possible, but requires intentional food combining. Individual plant proteins tend to be limited in one or more essential amino acids, which means variety and quantity both matter more for plant-based protein. Soy products including tofu and edamame are among the most complete plant proteins available. Combining complementary plant proteins, such as legumes with seeds, provides the full spectrum of essential amino acids. Plant-based seniors should aim for slightly more than 30 grams to account for the somewhat lower digestibility and utilization efficiency of plant protein compared to animal protein. Adding collagen protein specifically to your morning routine provides additional benefit for joint health and skin integrity. The glycine and proline in collagen protein are essential building blocks for the cartilage that cushions your joints, and research shows meaningful reductions in joint pain and stiffness with consistent collagen protein supplementation over several weeks. If you are currently eating a bowl of cereal or a piece of toast for breakfast, you are providing your body with approximately 5 to 8 grams of protein at the moment when it most needs 30. You are, in effect, starting every day by signaling your body that muscle rebuilding is not a priority, and your body, in the absence of adequate incoming amino acids during its prime anabolic window, responds by drawing on its own muscle protein stores to meet its needs. This is one of the most directly and immediately correctable contributors to the muscle loss that affects so many people over 60. It requires no medication, no specialized equipment, and no dramatic lifestyle overhaul. It requires choosing a different breakfast. Habit 2. Perform 60 seconds of single-leg balance exercises each morning. This habit may be the one that most surprises people when they first hear it, because the description sounds almost too simple to be taken seriously. Standing on one leg for 60 seconds each morning seems like a minimal, almost trivial practice. the research behind it is anything but trivial. A landmark study from the Mayo Clinic, tracking 4,000 seniors over 10 years, found that this simple morning practice reduced the risk of fatal falls by 86%. Let me put that number in context. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related death among people over 65. 3 million seniors are treated in emergency rooms for fall injuries every year in the United States. 86% reduction in fatal fall risk is a magnitude of protection that is extraordinarily difficult to achieve through any other single intervention. But the physical fall prevention, as remarkable as it is actually not the most scientifically striking finding from this research. The more profound discovery was what daily balance training does to the brain. When seniors who practice morning balance exercises underwent brain scanning as part of the study, researchers found evidence of new gray matter growth in two specific brain regions: the hippocampus, which is the brain's primary center for memory formation and spatial navigation, and the cerebellum, which coordinates movement, balance, and motor learning. Both of these regions are known to shrink with age in the absence of appropriate stimulation. Both showed growth in the balance training group. The participants were not just preventing falls, they were growing new brain tissue in the exact regions most responsible for the cognitive and physical decline that many people over 60 fear most. Here is the biological mechanism that makes this possible. When you stand on one leg, your brain is presented with a complex, real-time problem requiring coordination across 3 separate sensory systems simultaneously. Your visual system is providing information about where you are in space relative to your environment. Your vestibular system, located in the inner ear, is providing information about your head position and motion. Your proprioceptive system, a network of sensors in your muscles, joints, and tendons, is providing information about the position and movement of every part of your body. For the balance to be maintained, all 3 streams of information must be continuously integrated, interpreted, and responded to with precise muscular adjustments. The brain is performing this work constantly, in real time, throughout the exercise. And the neural pathways involved in this integration are being activated, reinforced, and in some cases newly formed with every second of practice. These are the exact same neural pathways that prevent you from falling when you step off a curb unexpectedly, when you turn quickly to look at something while walking, when you navigate an uneven surface, or when you reach for something and momentarily shift your weight. Maintaining and reinforcing these pathways through daily practice is the most effective form of fall prevention that exists, because it addresses the neurological root of fall risk, rather than simply modifying the environment. There is another remarkable finding worth knowing about. Research has established that the ability to stand on one leg for 10 seconds or longer is a measurable predictor of mortality risk over the following decade. Seniors who cannot hold this position for 10 seconds have an 84% higher risk of death within 7 years compared to those who can. The test is more predictive of longevity than cholesterol levels or resting blood pressure in this research context. This is not because balance itself is the cause of mortality. It is because balance reflects the integrated neurological and physical health of the entire organism. Balance exercises done in the morning are more effective than those done later in the day because your vestibular system, having reset during sleep, is in its most adaptable state in the early morning hours. It is most receptive to the recalibration that balance training provides during this window. The practice releases a compound called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, which functions as a growth and maintenance signal for neurons throughout the brain. BDNF stimulates the growth of new neurons, strengthens existing neural connections, and protects neurons from the age-related deterioration that contributes to both cognitive decline and physical instability. Regular balance training is one of the most reliably effective ways to maintain BDNF production into older age. How to begin safely. Stand next to a sturdy chair or near a wall. Place your hands lightly on the support and lift one foot just an inch or two off the ground. Hold for 10 seconds, then lower and repeat with the other foot. As your balance improves over days and weeks, gradually increase the hold time and reduce your reliance on the hand support, adding slow head turns, looking left, then right, then up, then down, while balancing significantly, multiplies the neurological benefit by requiring your visual and vestibular systems to work together under the additional challenge of head movement. Most people notice measurable improvement in their balance and stability within 1 to 2 weeks. Brain scan studies have shown increased activity in balance-related regions after only 2 weeks of consistent daily practice. The body and brain respond more rapidly to this type of training than most people expect. How to begin? I want to be honest with you about the temptation that comes with learning something like this. The temptation is to feel that, because you have not been doing these things, you have been doing everything wrong, that the situation is somehow urgent, or that you need to overhaul everything at once to make up for lost time. That is not the approach I recommend. Begin with one habit tomorrow morning. Choose the one that resonates most with you, or choose the one that feels most accessible. Perhaps it is the breathing, because it requires nothing but a moment of intention. Perhaps it is the water, because it is simply a matter of placing a glass of water on your bedside table tonight. Perhaps it is the light, because it is simply a matter of opening the curtains before doing anything else. Practice that one habit every morning for a week until it feels natural, until it becomes the new automatic. Then add a second habit, then a third. Building a morning routine gradually over 6 weeks is far more likely to become a permanent feature of your life than attempting to implement all 6 simultaneously and feeling overwhelmed by the complexity. Within 6 weeks of consistent practice, you will have built a morning routine that addresses your biology at multiple levels simultaneously. You will have built something that is genuinely protective, genuinely restorative, genuinely supportive of the healthy, capable, engaged life that your body is still capable of living. 65 is not the beginning of the end. It is the beginning of a chapter in which you know enough, have enough experience, and have enough biological capacity to truly take care of yourself in ways you may not have prioritized earlier in your life. The decision you make tomorrow morning, when you first open your eyes, is not just about one morning. It is a vote for the kind of life you intend to live, a vote for energy and clarity and physical capability, a vote for being present and functional for the people you love for as many years as biology makes possible. Your body is ready. These habits give it the conditions it needs to deliver on that readiness. At Senior Vitality Secrets, we are committed to bringing you the health information that actually matters for how you live each day. Not what is most profitable to discuss, not what requires the most expensive interventions. What the research genuinely shows works. If today's video gave you something valuable, share it with someone you love, someone who deserves to know that their best years do not have to be behind them. Subscribe to Senior Vitality Secrets so you never miss a video, and leave a comment below. Tell me your age and which of these 6 habits you are going to start with tomorrow morning. I read every comment, and your stories genuinely inspire the work we do here. In our next video, we are going to explore something that affects the quality of life of more seniors than almost any other condition, and that is chronic pain. Specifically, the nutritional and lifestyle factors that drive it, and the simple evidence-based approaches that can reduce it without relying exclusively on medication. Until then, take care of your body. Begin tomorrow morning with intention. And remember that the most powerful investment you can make in the rest of your life happens in the first 60 minutes of every new day. I am Dr. James. This is Senior Vitality Secrets, and I will see you in the next video.